Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Virtual Graduate Open event for the European Institute here at LSE. I am Carl Ludwig Campbell. I am the European Institute Manager and Head of Professional Services here at the European Institute. I'm joined by my colleagues Jennifer Jackson-Priest, who is an Associate Professor in Nationalism and our Teaching Committee Chair, and Bryony Wills, who is an LSE Careers Consultant. And so we'll all be talking to you today a little bit about what you would experience at LSE and specifically the European Institute. Just to give an overview about what we're going to talk about today, I'll start with a brief introduction about the department. We'll give an overview of our programs. We will talk little bit about funding, about student life in the European Institute, about career support and graduate destinations, and then at the end, we'll have time for a question and answer session to hear from you. To introduce you to the European Institute, we are an academic department at LSE. Although we're called an institute, we are an academic department and we're grouped with the departments, although we do have a slightly different profile in the interdisciplinarity of the department and the research that we do. But what's key to note here is that we have excellent teaching scores, and that's scores as evaluated by our students, great research, and our teachers here at the European Institute are researchers. So our teachers are doing their research and they are teaching you about the research that they're doing. Often one of the texts that you will have in your course will have been written by a member of our faculty. So you're being taught by world-leading researchers, not graduate teaching assistants. That's important. Our students are exceptional as well. You are exceptional. You're applying to us high-quality applicants, high-quality applications, and over 60% of our applicants don't actually make it. So those who do, hopefully one of you, it's a really high bar, and we want you to be able to join us as one of our cohort. We are the leading academic venue for public debate of Europe in the UK, and I'll talk about that again in just a little bit. And then I want to draw attention to our two taglines: Study Europe, Understand the World, and Europe Beyond Eurocentrism. Now, these taglines reflect the department's vision. Europe is not just a region to study, it's a gateway to understanding global processes. So here at the EI, we show you how Europe both drives and responds to global forces. We want to give you the insight and the skills to think critically and to act globally and to lead anywhere in the world. Right? So Europe becomes a laboratory for examining broader patterns. What you learn here in the EI, you can apply anywhere. And as you see in the next few slides, you'll learn and see that our alumni truly are global. Looking a bit at the department just overall, we're about to celebrate our 35th birthday next year, founded in 1991 as a multidisciplinary center for the study of Europe. We have four main research streams. That's politics and policy, political economy, culture and society, and migration. And each of these four streams has a connected program, master's program, double degree programs, and our PhD program, which spans all four of those streams. As I said, we've got four master's programs, four double degree programs, soon to be five, and a PhD program. And that's important. We are postgraduate only. We are one of only a handful of departments at LSE that has this special distinction. You are coming here to study with other postgraduate students who've already done the undergraduate, and now you are in a small cohort, about 260 students of students who are all coming to study Europe and the world around us, right? That's a small cohort, right? It's a nice size, and that means that you will get a chance to meet most students in your program, but also mix with students across the department. You get a really, truly disciplinary experience here in the EI. If you want it, you can take courses from across all four programs that we offer. And Jennifer, coming up, will be able to talk a bit more about that. And then at the very end here, you can see we have happy students, right? 89% overall satisfaction from our most recent student survey. Thinking a bit more now about the community of the European Institute, we have students from around the world, from over 40 countries, and that means that we have a big alumni pool as well, 4,800 alumni around the world. And as I'll speak a bit later, they come and they offer career advice. They speak at our events. They write blogs for us. Students, uh, once they leave the EI, remain engaged with the EI. I always say once you're part of the EI, you're always a part of the EI. We have an extended community around the world. And that community includes our staff. So we've got 60 members of staff, academic, research, admin professionals, and over 50 visiting staff. And these are both academic and policy practitioners, all making up part of our community. The European Institute is the leading academic venue for public debate on Europe in the UK. We have over 30 events each year. That is public lectures, academic seminars, conferences, exhibitions, all ways to engage with Europe and with big speakers. President of Finland came last year. We've got former Prime Minister John Major coming this evening. We have representatives from the European Commission and from European institutions like the European Bank for Reconstruction, all coming to speak to you here in the European Institute. And then again, just sort of touching upon that beyond Eurocentrism theme, that is part of our events program as well, taking a critical approach to Eurocentric assumptions, not just in the studies that you're doing in your classroom, but also in our public events as well. This is now a good chance for me to hand over to Jennifer, who's going to talk a bit about our programs.
Thanks, Ludwig. So what I want to do with all of you is walk you through the different foci across our degree programs. And as I do that, I really want to reinforce what Ludwig has said about the European Institute as an interdisciplinary research center where we are interested in studying Europe, not in and of itself, not in a kind of inward-looking way, but very much in an outward-looking way that is asking questions about Europe in order to understand contemporary issues of our time broadly conceived, and that immediately positions Europe within the wider world, and that orientation runs across all of our programs. Equally, we want to ask questions about Europe that are critical, that seek to want to challenge presumptions about what Europe is and who belongs to it. And again, you will see that reflected across our offerings as well. So I'm now going to walk you through a kind of brief précis of each of our programs. But obviously, if you had specific questions, then you're more than welcome to come back and ask them in our Q&A. So to begin with then, we have a program that focuses on European and international politics and policy. The name kind of gives away its positioning. This is a degree that is very interested in wanting to think through European governance structures, but it does that in the context of an international understanding of what institutions mean, and also of the way in which governance within Europe is deeply affected by processes of globalization that are coming from beyond Europe and are affecting more than just Europe. So if you are interested in wanting to think through the ways in which through processes around European integration, around the different policies that European member states domestically, but also, of course, collectively through the institutions of the European Union are developing to try and respond to contemporary challenges of a global nature. You can think here, of course, issues related to the green transition. You can think of issues related to security. You can think of issues having to do with broader questions around responses to new partnerships, orientations with other states across the world. And in all of that, the focus is very much to look at Europe, but always through this wider lens. So if you are interested, you would find yourself taking courses that interrogate integration in that globalization context, that will ask questions around policymaking processes, but with a wider context surrounding them. Again, not just Europe, but broader areas of relevance in terms of thinking of comparators and changes and causal factors motivating changes. And there will be a wide range of courses that you may take. Some of them focus very much on European institutions, others on European regions, and others that are picking up a broader range of thematic issues, which actually represent the wider interests of the Institute as a whole. And this is true of all the degrees. So whichever one you tick, you will have opportunities to sample courses in another area. It may be that you're interested predominantly in European and international governance, but migration is of a key interest to you as well. And there would be opportunities, for example, to study that. I'm now going to move on to MSc Culture and Conflict in a Global Europe. Here we have an interest in wanting to think about the relationship between culture and conflict, asking questions about the politics of culture and the culture of politics and the consequences of that in terms of our understanding of what drives conflict, but equally at the same time, what animates processes of post-conflict reconciliation. So through this course, you will have an interesting range of courses, very interdisciplinary in that they draw quite significantly on disciplines of comparative politics, political philosophy, international relations, and in that conversation, we will be asking these bigger questions about how we understand debates that are contentious around culture, for instance, within European states, but equally, of course, those kind of wider issues of serious instances of conflict where we can tease out the dynamics that culture played, both in the causes and also in the responses to it. You can think of processes in the Balkans, you think of what's going on in Ukraine, and again, you can think of other policy areas where the same tension is present, migration clearly being a case in point. As with all the degrees, there is an opportunity to take courses in other kind of related aspects of where European research does. So here, although it's not a core focal point, you will have the opportunity to pick up issues related, for instance, to the green transition. We have students who pursue questions around climate in their dissertations, for instance, linking them back, in this program's case, to that broader question around culture and conflict. Moving on to the political economy of Europe in the world. This is very much a political economy approach. But again, it is not simply interested in processes relevant to the political economy of Europe, not simply, for instance, thinking around the consequences of the single market or European Monetary Union, though obviously those will be very important, but once more wants to take a wider view and ask questions about how the ways in which political economy works in Europe is shaped by bigger global processes of political economy and the ways in which Europe is responding to that. So again, it's that analytical lens which will be looking at the history and emergence of a particular approach to political economy through processes linked, for instance, to European integration and enlargement, but now also driven by wider factors having to do with the green transition, having to do with relationships between Europe and other parts of the world, very significant to the international political economy, for instance, China, and also, of course, the United States. And so again, there is that broader orientation. Finally, moving on to the MSc International Migration and Public Policy, this is a program that will be asking you to think very seriously about what is one of the most controversial policy topics of our age. And I say this, those of you who read the British newspapers, you will note we are in a moment of great political contestation because the current government is proposing changes to rules around migration and asylum. So this particular degree will invite you to think about that problematique, both in terms of the policy responses that it generates, certainly at the European level, where there are efforts, of course, to create and operate a common governance system around migration, but also at the level of member states, where there is much political contestation around migration, around the appropriate responses to it. And then beyond that, equally, there is going to be a significant conversation, not just about these top-down processes, but more bottom-up understandings of migration, that is the lived experience of those who are migrants, questions having to do with the ways in which, for instance, gender maps on into thinking around migration and the experiences of those, for instance, who may be trafficked, equally understanding around kind of broader questions of narrative and of wider identities and identity debates also being located within that controversy surrounding migration. So again, this is very much an international perspective. It's interested in looking at how that phenomenon of migration is affecting Europe, but equally what's driving it, how it positions Europe within the wider world. Again, very important to remember that whichever way you go in terms of a core focus, there are also opportunities to cross these thematic areas. All of the programs allow for a further ability to sample across the broad expertise within the European Institute to think out of narrow disciplinary boxes and picking up that interdisciplinary lens, be able also to take these interests into areas which perhaps aren't immediately obviously related to it, but through which you will have very important synergies opening up to you and further points of reflection. I think we can move on in the slide. The other really, I think, fascinating aspect of how we organize our degrees at the LSE is that every almost every one of them, soon will be all of them, has a double degree program attached to it. What is a double degree? Well, a double degree is a very special opportunity and really a unique one to be able to pursue the same area of specialization, not just at LSE, but one of our partner institutions. And all of our partner institutions are, of course, top performing social science institutions globally. We have partnered with our peers to create these bespoke pathways for you to experience world-class conversation in more than one location. And that's something that we're quite passionate about because, again, it speaks strongly to our understanding of Europe as part of these wider global processes. And our partnerships are another way of being able to communicate that and open that space up for students, but also this actually sustaining our research and our deeper scholarly engagement as well. So I'll begin with LSE Columbia double degree. This is associated with the course program at the LSE called Conflict and Culture in the Global Europe. You would spend 1 year in New York looking at the degree there, which is in the area of culture, society, and history of Europe. And then after that year, you would come to us and you would pursue the degree on conflict and culture in a global Europe. So you would experience two of the most cosmopolitan cities in the world, New York and London. I have to confess, if I was going to choose a double degree, this one would really seriously be tempting me, if only because I absolutely love museums. And imagine a year in two of the cities with some of the world's most wonderful museums and art galleries. And it's perfect, of course, for the culture and conflict theme. The next double degree we have is actually our oldest, most long-standing double degree, and that represents our deep partnership with Sciences Po in Paris. This is a double degree that is focused very much in the broad area of European studies. You would have that first year in Paris, and you would have all of the opportunities presented by Sciences Po, which complements us very nicely because it does have a more kind of overtly applied aspect to it. And there are opportunities to hone that more kind of applied understanding of knowledge and then bring it to the LSE and be able to deepen it within our interdisciplinary space and through our own bespoke practical skills program, and with our very many significant policymakers and practitioners who walk through our corridors regularly. So it's a really lovely combination. You are able to match this with any of our degrees, which is another wonderful opportunity to create whichever pathway you think would be most of interest to you. LSE Fudan, double degree, Global Political Economy of China and Europe. You will spend 1 year in London. You will be studying our course degree program on international political economy. You will be, of course, asking questions about global political economy and the changing nature of the world economy and our responses to it from the view in London. That is, of course, looking at it through the prism of Europe, thinking about relationships between Europe and the world, again, from London. And then, how wonderful, in the second year, you will go to Shanghai and you will ask similar questions, but now you will be asking it from the perspective of China. And I think this is, again, an amazing opportunity to see how the world is changing, the most important questions of global political economy of our time, relations between Europe and China, the West and China, and you will actually have lived that conversation in these two world-class institutions. So perfectly married up to one another in asking this conversation, but with these very different orientations. Finally, we have our LSE Boccone double degree in European and International Public Policy. Again, it's a wonderful kind of marriage of world-leading institutions. Boccone, of course, is one of Europe's premier business institutions. It has a wealth of expertise in that kind of application, again, of thinking around governance in a way that's quite practitioner-oriented. Once more, very much complemented by the second year with us, where again, you will add in that deeper theoretical understanding, interrogating questions around European governance, European integration in that globalized space, with the premier concentration of experts on Europe, literally anywhere. That is what LSE is, and that at its hub is what the European Institute does. And so, again, very nicely complementing that interesting experience that you would have had after a year in Milan. Hold the space, because we are one of these days very soon going to be adding another one linked to migration, but unfortunately not available yet next year. I think we can move on. We now also, of course, and always have done, come to our MPhil PhD in European Studies. Again, we are a research institution. We provide research-led teaching. And as a result, of course, our MPhil PhD program training the next generation of leading researchers on Europe is something that is integral to our mission and something that we have always been very fundamentally committed to. We offer our research students the opportunity to come, of course, and learn from us, be mentored by us. It is always very much a partnership, PhD learning, because you are there working closely in dialogue with your supervisors in the European Institute. You will have 2 supervisors. That speaks again to our deep commitment to interdisciplinary research, that ability to bring together colleagues who have a shared interest but pursue it in different ways, or complement different projects in different ways. And again, it builds a wonderful collegiality, because it's another opportunity for us to converse to one another with our students and really deepen not only your own emergence as an expert in whatever area you have focused on in terms of your PhD, but also our own understanding as well. Anyone interested in thinking about the PhD, you will be expected to put forward a proposal. This is obviously a significant piece of research that will, at the end, make an original contribution to scholarship. You have different ways of being able to develop and present that research. It may be through the traditional route of the academic kind of singular dissertation of roughly 100,000 words, which will eventually presumably be published in a book, or if not in a book, in several leading journal articles. or you can do the more contemporary route and instead focus on a collection of what will be published journal articles, all of them speaking to and advancing understanding on a broader research question to which each contributes an important conclusion. So again, it's down to you to pick which of these approaches you would like to pursue. And we very much welcome applications from students. Remember, because this is that supervisory relationship, you should be thinking about who and where and with whom you might want to work. And you are always very welcome to email colleagues. I'm currently receiving emails from prospective students. Send me a nice message. I'm interested in this. Would it be of interest to you? And I'm always very happy to engage with that. When things are of interest, I'll have a dialogue. And obviously, if they aren't, I'll try to send somebody on to somebody with whom they may have that match. Finally, student support. As Ludwig said, we take our teaching very seriously, and we are very, very good at it. And again, that speaks volumes both about our commitment to scholarship. We are all active researchers, but equally our community, which we're also deeply committed to. We are an extremely collegial part of the London School of Economics. Personally, I think we could win a prize for being the most collegial department, although I'm a little bit biased. But in any event, you'll see that we have really carefully thought through ways in which to support you. You will be assigned when you arrive an academic mentor. I mentor a group of students this year, and I tell them that I am the friendly human face of the European Institute, that I'm there as a port of call, first port of call if they have any questions about their program, about their dissertation in the early stage, about anything else in life that may be happening to them. It is my role to be able to guide them and to bring them to that part of the European Institute, or indeed the wider school if relevant, that's going to be able to provide them with the answers they require and the support that they need. Helping me do that, and with whom I will be closely liaising in my role as an academic mentor, and true of all of our academic mentors, will be our wonderful European Institute program team and managers. Again, an extremely friendly administrative staff in the European Institute who offer a very warm and welcoming port of call for our students. And again, we'll be there to answer questions about your studies, about course selection early on, about exams, about all of those issues to do with the bureaucratic structuring of the LSE. And they are the experts in it, and they will always find you an answer. In terms of the academic content, all of the courses will have a course convener who is the senior academic responsible for them and has therefore academic oversight over the course and over its assessments and its teaching. And again, running office hours, as of course do academic mentors, for you to come in and to speak about any particular issues or concerns or just general questions you might have, or indeed passions that you share. I love it when students come and say, oh, I have this deep interest in this area, and I see you published on it, and I'd really love to have a chat. I would love to have a chat too. So again, that's something that you can do with us. Finally, we also have program directors. So each of these programs that I talked you through has an academic staff member who is responsible for it, and again, has oversight over how that program is being taught and is available as well to support students if they have any questions around it. We are also blessed with an absolutely wonderful department senior student advisor who is one of our alumni, by the way, one of my own students in years past taking my courses. And she is there as well to be able to help you navigate life at the LSE, deal with the bureaucracy of well-being and of individual student support arrangements. And she is not only in the European Institute, but also in the Central LSE Student Administration. So a fantastic kind of conduit for being able to help you navigate both ends. We do take student voice really seriously, and you may have noted when Ludwig introduced me, he said that I was currently the chair of a departmental teaching committee, and as part of that, I am also there with our student representatives to the committee who are an integral part of it. This is again because we want to hear from students. We want them to be involved in the decisions that we make to make sure that we are fully responsive to student needs and to student interests. As part of that as well, we have a staff student liaison committee, which will have representation from each master's program. We also have one for the doctoral program. And again, that is another avenue through which students are able to articulate their own views and through which we engage with them to improve the support we offer and indeed to inform our understanding of how we're developing our courses, where we want to think about growing new courses, and again, where we want to make sure that we're keeping our courses very cutting edge and very responsive to the kinds of career choices that our students aspire towards and our alumni have in fact moved into. And again, we have a great relationship with our alumni and they also very deeply inform what we do as well. And I think I finished that slide.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jennifer. I'm going to talk just a little bit about funding. And just to remind you that at the bottom of the screen, if you're watching this on your desktop or your laptop, there's a button you can click for Q&A. We are getting questions already. If you want to ask a question now while we're talking, you can type that into the box and it's being answered by my colleagues. And if we have time at the end, we'll pick up a few of those live here in this chat as well. So just to talk briefly about funding, no doubt you're thinking about funding your studies already. First thing I want to point to is the Graduate Support Scheme. Now, this is money that LSE makes available each year, about £3 million each year, and that's in the form of awards through this Graduate Support Scheme. So you would apply after you apply for your course. So you make your application to graduate admissions, and then you will apply then to the Financial Support Office as part of the GSS. And then they will look at financial need and make awards based on that. And if you need further support, they can then put you forward for other scholarships, which can offer a higher level of funding. The EI also has two of its own scholarships. We have the AKO scholarship that offers 5 awards each year, which covers tuition fees and a stipend. And we have our Ceresio scholarship. First of all, sorry, the AKO scholarship is for students who are studying on the 1-year programs, and the Ceresio scholarship is available for students who are studying on the double degree with Bocconi, and that offers a partial scholarship. It's most of it, but not all of it, but it's a good portion of it, and that's for both the first and the second year on the program. And so applications for all of these things will happen early in 2026. You can apply for programs now through graduate admissions, but the applications for these scholarships and for the graduate support scheme open normally sort of mid to late January. And again, you will need to apply through admissions first before you can apply through the graduate support scheme. There's going to be more information on this in another session run by LSE, and I'll tell you about that at the end of this presentation. Turning now to student life, and that's going to be me and Jennifer, just briefly talking about this. So there's 3 core aims of the student engagement program at the European Institute, and we're very proud of our student engagement program. In fact, the European Institute was the first department at LSE to have its first dedicated student engagement manager. And so we really take this seriously, and we seek to, through this program, enhance the educational experience of our students, to build community between our students, our staff, and our alumni, and to help students make the most of their life in London. And it's key there, the key point at the bottom there is that this is your program. This is your department, right? We want students involved in helping to shape what we offer. We want students to get involved in suggesting ideas and for being involved in sort of an events committee, right? We want students to sit on our teaching committees, to get involved in what we do in the department. We want to work with you to help make your experience the best that you can have during your year in the European Institute. Jennifer, I'm going to hand to you to talk about professional skills.
Thanks, Ludwig. You may again remember that when Ludwig was introducing the department, he noted that we have 50 visitors. Many of them are not simply academics, but very senior practitioners in European institutions, in other institutions. And indeed, we also maintain a very wide alumni network. And many of our alumni now are also in very senior positions. And in all of that, we have endeavored to capitalize to bring that professional expertise into our own programs at LSE and create opportunities for our students to be able to engage with these practitioners and develop the skill sets that they want to be able to demonstrate already on their CVs to prospective employers in the destination they have in mind, career-wise, following graduation with us. So in order to do this, and this is actually a piece of work that I in fact did when I was deputy head a few years back, we actually worked closely with our alumni. We wanted to understand what professional skills they utilized most within their careers, career trajectories that our students most commonly enter. And through that, in dialogue with our alumni, we created our professional skills workshops. These are practitioner-led. So for instance, if you are interested in political risk, we have Midge Rahman, who is one of our alumni, and he is also the director of Eurasia Group in London. And he comes in and offers training on political risk. Equally, we have contact in the US State Department, who is a senior negotiator there, and he offers a bespoke program on the skills of the international negotiator. Thank you very much. The skills of the international negotiator. This is Greg Garamone. If you are interested in being a kind of lobbyist, we have Pierre Hasmer, who looks at the ways in which you can use evidence to influence EU policy. We have a very deep and enduring relationship with the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, again, through our alumni. And the EBRD, in fact, has staff who are operating a workshop for us, which ultimately results in a pitch that students make to a mock board comprised of EBRD members. As well, we have Jim Sharp, who was a very senior level officer within the UK Home Office dealing with migration, particularly relations between the EU and the AU, and he runs a special workshop looking at policy development and negotiation in the context of irregular migration. These workshops and others are all offered to students through the academic year, and if you attend them, you will receive a certificate acknowledging that you have completed that workshop, and that is a way to accredit that skill set that you have been introduced to as something that you can put specifically on your CV and you are able to show to prospective employers. This works better than we could have ever imagined. I am always amazed at the number of our alumni that I meet at our various drinks receptions in subsequent years, and they will come up and say, oh, you know that course that I did, that workshop in EU 450, well, you won't believe it, but the particular individual teaching it was a great mentor to me. They actually helped introduce me to this other person, and that's the way I got my job. It works, and it works because we have really developed it in dialogue with our alumni, and it's a nice way of making sure that our current cohort is well connected with our past cohort, who are exactly the people, of course, who are going to be hiring them, and equally that it sends them down that avenue towards the careers where we know that our graduates are most successful. And you'll see that we have opportunities for this in our alumni advice panels and our networking events. I think we slipped something over a previous slide. Did I miss something?
Yes,
Forgot for one moment.
just really quickly on the EU in practice.
Yes, the EU in practice is another opportunity for our students to be able to engage with very senior practitioners from European institutions and indeed more broadly. We, again, are privileged to have as two of our longstanding fellows, Anthony Teasdale and Martin Westlake, both of them having held very senior positions within the European institutions and probably with the very best network of anyone in the European institutions. Between the two of them, they literally know just about everybody. And somehow they are able to use those contacts to bring just about everybody who's of any significance into the LSE, the European Institute, to be able to speak to our students through the European Union in Practice seminar series. So again, this runs through the year. It's open to any student who is studying with us at the European Institute. And again, it's another way to build contacts, also to deepen your understanding, complementing that academic understanding that you are getting through your courses with that practitioner insight from the amazing context that Anthony and Martin bring into London for us. I think that's possibly all my slides, although I realize I talked
No,
slightly out of order.
that's fine. No, it is. I'm glad you got ahead of it because the alumni is really important. I just very quickly touch upon that. We do offer many opportunities to connect with our alumni. We have advice panels, we have networking events, receptions, and we also have something very special, the EI Alumni Mentorship Program, and that allows students to connect with our alumni. We pair students with alumni to discuss sort of career pathways and to get advice and guidance on their studies and their career goals. And that brings me nice round to Bryony, who's going to talk to you a little bit about career support and graduate destinations. Bryony.
Thank you, Ludwig, and lovely to meet you all. I am Bryony Wills. I'm the careers consultant that works with the European Institute. So I'm just going to give you a bit of an overview of the career support that you will have access to at the European Institute. You've already heard a lot about how the programs and the alumni support is kind of set up already in the European Institute to make sure that you have the knowledge and connections. I mean, we will have students joining us at many different stages in their careers thinking. So there'll be some of you here who are thinking, I want to take this course because I already know what I want to do in my career, and this is my step towards getting that sort of professional knowledge. And there'll be others of you who are thinking, I don't know what I want to do. I don't even maybe know yet what I'm really good at or interested in. It's fine to be at whatever point, and we find that students will often transition through those different points as they learn more on their courses, as they discover new things which really inspire them and light them up. So the job of LSE Careers is to allow you to kind of select different opportunities that complement what you're already doing on your program. There'll be some opportunities where I will be there in the classroom in your timetable where it's around sort of career planning or networking or really sort of core key skills that we want to make sure everybody has. And there'll be other times when you can self-select and come along to what's suitable for you. So there'll be opportunities where you can kind of explore ideas. You can maybe learn about different careers that you hadn't thought of before. There'll also be chances for you to test out your skills, try out different types of work, different types of day-to-day kind of operating skills that you could use in a job to try to understand yourself better, understand what, not just what you're good at, but what you enjoy doing and what keeps you motivated and interested. And then we also have sort of real concrete support around your applications where maybe you'll be coming to me with an application that you want to hand in, you want to make sure that it presents you in the best possible way. We will support you to do that across different countries as well. There'll be some people here who are thinking, I want to stay in the UK after I graduate. Others will be thinking, I want to go home. Others will be thinking they want to go to a third country. So we support you with navigating the slight differences in culture around job applications and interviewing, and where to find different opportunities in different countries as well. Some of it we do through sort of big programs where it's events, where it's workshops. You can book into those. Other times we'll be working with you one-to-one, and you can have one-to-one coaching, interview prep throughout your time at the European Institute, but also far beyond your graduation as well. So LSE Careers, we work with you once you've graduated. For 2 years, you can use our services pretty much as you would as a student. For the next 3 years after that, it's a slightly different service to reflect the fact that you're in your early career still, but you're not sort of at the very beginning. And then after that, you can join our LSE professionals community, where we offer ongoing professional support as you continue in your career. Actually, if there's anyone in the room who already has more than 5 years experience, you can already join LSE professionals when you first start with the European Institute. I have the next slide. Here we are. So this very colourful slide is intended to give you an overview. As I said, you can select into different things, so there's no expectation that you will come along to everything we do. That would be pretty much impossible. But as you can see, we've got a real mix of opportunity across the terms that you'll be with us. Some of them are focusing on particular sort of sectors and industries. And we also have some events programs that focus on some of the geographies that are very popular for our students when they graduate. So you'd already have noticed when Jennifer was talking about the opportunities within the European Institute, she mentioned political risk. So I very often have students who go to something that's part of that professionals program and they say, oh, I've had this experience and it was really great and I'd like to discover more about this particular industry. Then they'll come to me and we will start linking into some of our Discover programs. And during those, there'll be opportunities to meet with employers. There'll be employers who come on campus or who join us online. And they're joining us to talk to students about what the early career opportunities are within their industry. But they will also be complemented by alumni who'll be talking about, well, this was my experience when I entered into this profession. This is what I learned. This is what I would recommend to you as somebody following behind me as well. So we have a community of support from employers and alumni that make sure that we're constantly up to date and that we're helping you build your network. Now, I'm not going to go into detail on all of these because you'd have to stay online with us for several hours, but I'm going to take a bit of a dive into some of the programs which are most popular with our European Institute students. If I could have the next slide. Okay, so a couple of weekends ago, we had our annual Discover International Organisations Day. This is something that LSE has been offering for a number of years, and it's very popular with students, but also with our professionals community. So I thought you might be interested to see some of the organisations that joined us on campus this year. So we have organisations flying in from around the world. I think AIIB probably had the longest flight time this year. So these organisations, they come to meet students. They come to talk about what career paths can be like within development banking and within international organisations, which is sometimes a popular destination for European Institute students. And we have this event as an opportunity to discover how you can apply for jobs, to meet people who work in these professions, to ask your questions directly to the organisations that are of interest to you. But you'll also see there's organisations like UN organisations here, the IMF, who come and talk to students. These are very specialist organisations, and sometimes students would be planning ahead several years to build up the expertise to work into some of these organisations. So having a chance to speak to the recruiters directly and the professional staff directly gives a great opportunity to start building your career in a sort of planned and organised way. There's also our Careers in Brussels programme, which is often very well represented by European Institute students for obvious reasons. So this is a programme that we run in Brussels, and we go in February every year. And it's made up in two parts. We'll have opportunities where you can visit institutions such as NATO, the European Commission, Parliament, where they'll give you a tour. They'll allow you to meet people who are working in the policy teams, in the recruitment teams, to talk about what life can be like within those institutions. They'll also talk about their traineeship programs where appropriate and give you a chance to ask your questions and understand kind of what those traineeship opportunities can provide for you. In the public sector, we would also include think tanks and some of the charities in that sector. And then in the private sector, we meet with consultancies, broad range of consultancies. I know that EY and Deloitte will be joining us this year, but also much smaller organisations that are quite boutique and focus on specialist issues. And the reason we do that is because these organisations will allow you to sort of try out the type of work that they do. They'll have you in their offices for a couple of hours to work on case studies, to meet the team, and they understand that you might not have had a chance to get work experience in these areas. So they want to give you some insight into what that kind of line of work could be like for you. We then have, on the next day, we have a traditional recruitment careers fair where these organisations and other recruiting organisations working in the sort of the Brussels bubble is the phrase I want to use. I think many of you will know it, but the organisations that influence policy around Brussels, many of them use that fair as their main early talent recruitment channel. So they come and they meet students with our support at one of the big conference hotels in Brussels. And then finally, we have again opportunities to meet with alumni in the evening of that event. I know we've talked about alumni a lot, and it's a very varied community at the European Institute. Lots of people will go into work very closely related to their subject of study. But as you've seen from the previous slides, they are multidisciplinary, so they can take students in lots of directions. But I thought it'd be useful to share some examples of the kind of private and public sector organisations that European Institute students often go into. You'll see LSE is there as one of those employing institutions. Some of our students do stay in professional roles at LSE, but many of our students also look at staying on within academic roles as well. So some of our students go to PhDs, and that can later lead to postdocs and academic careers within the academic community here as well.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Bryony. And I just want to quickly point here to the information that's available on the LSE Careers website. Talk a little about graduate sectors and what our graduates do, where they go. And of course, if you've got questions, you can reach out to us. And I'm sure Bryony is also always happy to help, always very helpful with.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bryony. And then just to cycle back quickly in terms of hearing from our students and our alumni, when this session's over, you should go and check out our TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube channels. We're working with a number of student content creators who are producing videos and vlogs to give you a real glimpse of life in the European Institute. I'm always blown away by the work that they do. So go and check out these videos. It really will give you a real feeling for what it's like to be a student with us. And then on our website, we've got a number of alumni profiles that talk to you about our former students, where they've gone, what they're doing, and all the great things they're getting up to as our alum. There's going to be another slide in just a moment, and there's information there on the screen about how else to connect with us. But I thought we've got about a couple of minutes to answer a couple of questions. I want to turn to Jennifer. There's been a question here that sort of mirrors several other ones that our team have been answering. It says, I'm originally studying an international business administration degree at Rotterdam School of Management, and I'm doing a more political science-oriented exchange at Sciences Po. Would my degree be considered a social science one, or do I have to put emphasis on my exchange experience in my application? And then just to connect on that, what exactly are we looking for? Do they need to have a pure social science degree, or will we accept applications from students beyond the social sciences?
Thanks, Subik. Obviously, that's a really interesting question. It's an interesting one, particularly for us, because remember, we're interdisciplinary. So the short and simple answer is no. We are not narrowly looking at this in terms of, the social sciences, and certainly not any particular disciplines within them. What we do want to see evidence is that this is somebody who obviously has had a kind of rigorous undergraduate training. All of our students are very competitive, and they come to us very able. And so we would want to see that you do have that credible academic background and a clear interest in whatever program you are applying to. So we want to see that there is a sense for you in which this is a kind of relevant to interests that you have, where you see yourself going, and obviously fits into that narrative that you can tell about yourself, which gives a kind of logical sense in which this is an appropriate next step for you, and you would be a very good fit for us in our interdisciplinary approach to Europe, which, as I said, isn't Europe in and of itself, but always Europe in the context of the wider world. So please apply. We would look forward to having your application, and absolutely we will be taking it seriously.
There's been a few questions I've seen pop up about the personal statement and about recommendation letters, and I say this as somebody who has a background in admissions. In terms of the personal statement, you want to be able to demonstrate your commitment for the program, your career goals and your aims, your real understanding for what you are going to be studying, and why you want to study it. What is your motivation? You want to put a lot of time and effort into crafting a strong personal statement because, of course, we'll look at your qualifications. That always is the most important. That gets you over the first hurdle, right? But the next hurdle you're going to encounter is that personal statement. And our admissions selectors and admissions tutors, people like Jennifer, they're looking for that commitment in your statement to help make the best sort of decision about who we're going to admit. This also applies to recommendation letters. So we're looking for recommendations, ideally from academics, but if you have professional ones that are relevant to what you want to do, relevant to your studies and relevant to your career progression and where your aims are, your career goals, then we want to see those letters from those people as well. Jennifer, is there anything as somebody who is an admissions tutor who makes choices on applications, things that you might be looking at beyond that?
The most important thing is the narrative. So we really want to get a sense of you, just exactly what Ludwig has said, how you understand where you have come from and where you are going, and why the European Institute is an important part of where you see yourself going. So it's building that understanding of yourself in a way that connects up with us, with that interdisciplinary, outward looking view of Europe that we have, and then equally attaching yourself to whatever of the programs you're interested in, and being really able to talk about how and why you see yourself well positioned within that. It shows when a student has actually carefully reviewed our program page, has actually thought about what the focus of that program is, might look and say, oh gosh, I'm so excited to see this course on offer, and to see this particular academic. Maybe I've read an article by this person, or maybe this particular course is very strongly around where I see myself wanting to develop my own expertise. If you can give us that really informed rationale, you're going to stand out of the crowd and your application is far more likely to be taken seriously.
Agreed, absolutely. And just to touch on the very last question here before we move on, because we're running out of time here, you don't have to include citations or bibliography in your statement. This is a statement about you, not a sort of a piece of academic writing. You go onto the LSE website, go into the graduate admissions web pages, and they have a section there on what you should be including in your statement and how you should be crafting it. So do have a look at that. Just very briefly here, we've got some sessions coming up in the next few days. You can sign up for those. There is another session on careers. This is a more broad LSE one. There's one about funding your studies at LSE that you might find interesting. There is a session on discovery sessions for graduate study and applying, how you apply to LSE for graduate study. So do check those out. Pop onto the LSE website. There's more information on those as well. And just as we wrap up, there is another chance for you to answer a few questions for us in the last survey. This is really important for us. This will give us a chance for you to tell us how useful this session was, what else you might like to see from us in a future session as well, so that we can really craft a really good introductory session and make these as useful as possible for you. The last thing I'll say is, if you have any more questions, something we've not answered today, and you want us to answer that, drop us an email at ei@lse.ac.uk, ei@lse.ac.uk. We'll be happy to answer your questions. There's a lot of information on our prospectus pages as well. Do please check those out. Go on to the LSE Graduate Admissions website, which is also a huge source of information. And then again, we've got our career pages and all of the European Institute social media channels, which will give you a real good view about what it's like to study with us. And then hopefully next September, Jennifer, Brian, and I will be able to say welcome to LSE and welcome to the European Institute. Thank you so much for coming today and listening to us. Thank you to Bryony and Jennifer for being my co-hosts. Really wonderful. And also to all of my team behind the scenes who have been working so hard to answer your questions. It's It's been great to see you, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks so much.